Good morning, everybody. Painblade back here again from Server 1, representing ISC and Tribes Lab. Yes, folks, we got an upgrade in the title. I just want to give a shout out to the Tribe Lab, of course, because they are the main source, guys, of a lot of the videos in terms of data that I provide you guys. I do a lot of the testing myself, but I am part of that team, and you know what? Gotta give a shout out to everybody on that team for the hard work they've been putting in lately, from creating a brand new tier list, which will be coming soon, as well as just the overall discussions that we have of game mechanics. I want to give a special shout out to Blindside today, just because he did post a few things about my Gara video that I've corrected, guys. Not in the video itself, but in the description section, so go back and take a look at that. There are some clarifications of what I said and how I got to my results. But with that discussion that we had about Gara, we actually ended up having a different discussion about overall game stats. So I thought, you know what a great idea to make a video about how stats work in this game. So again, shout out to Blindside and the Tribe Lab for this idea, and these are the kind of great discussions we have on the main Discord, guys, so please jump on. Feel free to join us and put in your 2 cents as well too. So with that being said, though, I do want to focus on stats. A lot of people have a lot of questions on how the game stats work, such as guard rate, crit damage, crit rate. So what we're going to do today is we're going to actually explore how each of those stats affect your character, and we're going to look at 3 different stat sheets and explain how A-type characters versus B-type characters versus T-type characters work. So let's get into it. So the first thing I want to do, guys, is look at a first A character. So we're just going to use Naruto here as an example, okay? So Naruto is a nuker, and he's an A-type character. But before we get into that stat sheet, which is right over here, guys, if you press the stat button below profile, I'm going to talk about the 3 main stats. So HP, attack, and defense. So this is a gacha role-playing game. So like any other gacha role-playing game, there is a algorithm in the back end that's called a random number generator. That's what RNG stands for, if you don't know. And RNG allows you to do a certain number variance for damage and defense, while your HP stays stagnant based on how much HP you have. So HP, we're gonna ignore for now because it's a static number. But the attack and the defense are dynamic numbers. So what that means is Naruto has 38,000 attack. So if you have 0 multipliers, and we'll get into what multipliers are shortly, you will always do 38,000 attack if there was no random number generator. But because there is a random number generator, the 38,000 is your average attack. So what that means is, on an average, all of your attacks will most likely end up being that number. But you have a chance to do lower, and you have a chance to do higher based on a random number generator. So there's a bottom end and a top end, and then there's your average, which is what your current attack will be here, is what you see there, 38,000. And the same thing goes for defense, guys. Your defense has a random number generator that reduces incoming damage coming in from an attack, okay? From a low end to a high end, and then your average being, for Naruto, 67,000, right? Oh, sorry, 6,700. That'd be crazy, guys. 67,000. So that's how attack and defense work. Now your stats right over here are actually multipliers to those base stats. So attack, defense, and HP considered your base stats. Now these ones in your stats repertoire are considered your multipliers. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to go through what these multipliers mean, okay? So I want to explain to you how each one affects each one, all right? So your attack base will actually dictate how much crit damage increase rate is. So what that means is, when Naruto has a crit rate of 32.43%, so just follow me here, we're on the 3rd line, Naruto has a chance to crit the enemy for 32% if the enemy has no defenses, okay? In that crit, if he does perform that crit at 32%, he has a chance to increase his attack by 12.6% every time he crits. So that's what your multiplier is. So every time you crit, you will do 12.6% more damage from your attack. So you add that percentage to your attack, and that's what your crit damage will be. And of course, there is a generator there as well too, so it can be a little higher, be a little lower based on the characters or the opponent's defensive stats. All right. So crit rate is the chance to crit. Crit damage increase rate is the amount of increased damage you output based on your attack. Crit suppression rate, on the other hand, is your ability to block crits coming in. So when an opponent hits Naruto for 30,000 crit, he has a chance to reduce that, or he will reduce that, I apologize, by 7.2%. Okay, so let's just round it up to 8. So if somebody does, 10,000 damage, he's going to reduce that crit by 800. All right, so that's the way the percentages work for crit. And those are very important for attackers, probably the most important stats for an attacker. Now, guard rate, on the other hand, is the opposite. Guard rate is a defensive mechanism. So you'll notice that sometimes when an opponent hits you, you'll have a blue little shield pop up that looks like beehives, they're blue. That's your guard rate shield. Now, guard rate works very similar to crit rate, where there's a chance you have the ability to guard. So when somebody hits Naruto, he has a 12% chance to set up that shield. And when that shield is available, if you look down right below guard suppression rate, there's guard damage reduction. Naruto will reduce 17.26% extra damage from his defense. So if he reduces 7,000 from the attack, when he guards, he will also reduce 17% more of that 7,000. So you add 17% to 7,000, and that's your new guard, essentially, right? So you'll do about 8,000 rather than 7,000 or 8,800. So that's how guard rate works, guys. Now, guard rate is a chance, just like crit rate, so it does reduce damage even further, but there's also guard suppression rate. So what that does is the opposite. It actually is the ability to hit your opponent and reduce their chance to guard rate. So this is important for hitting tanks. A lot of tanks have high guard rate percentages, and when Naruto, let's say Gaara, for example, has 30% guard rate, by having a high guard suppression rate, you hit your opponent and you reduce that 30%. So Naruto reduces that 30% by 9%, and now Gaara only has 21% guard rate. Okay, so guard suppression rate is an actual attack stat. Now the last two, damage increase rate and damage reduction rate, are the most important stat in the game, in my opinion, when it comes down to overall defense and offense. Damage increase rate essentially is your multiplier for all of your attacks, damage, crit damage, regular attack, your jitsus, for example. And what I mean by jitsus is if we go into Naruto's, for example, so remember he has 42% damage increase, right? His first jitsu will do an increase of 147.68% damage, right? And then you add your 42 on top of that. So now you're doing almost 190% damage on top of the 100 that you already are dealing. So that's why damage increase is so important. Not only does it affect your regular base attacks and your crit damage attacks, but it also affects all of your jitsus, while your attack does not do that, okay? So that's why when you look at people's skills, the last two for 5 and 6 awakening are damage increase and damage decrease. They are super important, guys. Probably the most important two stats you're going to find in the game, and they do increase your power overall by about 13 each time you increase a skill. So it does go up quite a bit. All right, and the same thing goes for damage reduction rate, guys. So the more damage reduction rate you have, it increases your defense multiplier, increases your guard rate multiplier, also increases any buffs that affect you. Now, speaking of buffs, okay, these multipliers are your base multipliers. Buffs also exist to increase these. So we're going to use Deidara, for example, as a T character, okay? So Deidara has 24.47% crit rate. So remember that, just 25%. Let's just round it up, 25%. When he does his special, if you look in the bottom, this last yellow or gold line, Deidara boosts all allies crit rate by 33.65%. So what that means is you take your base 25% for Deidara, and when he pulls this move off, he increases everyone's crit rate by 33%. So you add that 25% to 33. So now you're above and you're close to 60%. So that's how it works with buffs, guys. It takes into account your base multipliers and adds to them. Okay, and that's how you want to look at building your team when you're building your team. You look at your base stats, you look at the kit, which is their skill kit, and you see where the multipliers increase the most, right? And that's how you want to build your set. And also, same thing goes with his crit damage. He increases everyone's crit damage by 20.84%. So let's say 21% for the whole battle. Let's go back to Deidara's stats. His crit rate is 13.2%. So he increases it by 21%. So now he's doing an extra 34% crit damage every 60% chance when his crit boost rate is up, right? So that's how that works. Gaara does the same thing for guard rate, which increases everyone's guard rate by 33%. It also increases guard damage reduction rate by 40% or 30%, whatever the case may be. So that you have to look at your multipliers and add that to it. And then characters like Naruto Kage do the same thing. Now, A units excel in damage, so their guard their crit rate, their crit damage rate, and their damage increase rate are going to be the highest. D characters, on the other hand, will have the lowest of those stats, but will have the highest damage reduction rates and also the highest guard rates. Okay, and then T units are the jack of all trades. They pretty much have the base stats. Sorry, not base stats. They have multipliers that are evened out all across the board because they are the most even balanced characters. Okay, so when you're creating a team, guys, that's what you want to do. You want to look at who gives you the best multipliers and what kind of crit team you're looking for. So, for example, something like a crit team, you want high crit chance rate, and you want high critical damage rate and a high damage increase rate. So you find characters with that, and then you find buffers who increase those stats even further. All right, guys, I really hope this helped kind of explain how this works. If you guys have any questions, you know how to get a hold of me. Comments, Discord, or just even, reach out to the main Discord that I always put on there. We're always available to help you guys out, whether it's team building or explaining stats. If I've misspoke, guys, in any way, shape, or form, please send me your criticism and make it positive, obviously, so we can make this an educational experience for the whole community. Again, guys, thank you for the love and the support. Again, shout out to Blindside for the wonderful conversation we had yesterday, and to the Tribes Lab for allowing me to be part of the team and help make these videos possible. And again, guys, I don't do any edits, never. This is my one shot, one take. So if there's anything I need to correct, I will edit it in the description. But besides that, have a wonderful day, everybody. Thank you for listening and for the support as usual. Painblade out.